Hi, I'm Jaina, and I'm going to talk about. First, I'd like to talk about my living like a Buddhist experience. This was definitely like my favorite one out of the three, and it was definitely like the most preferable way for me to live a good life. I already practice meditation in my daily basis, but other than that, trying to avoid my attachments and following the eightfold path. Trying to avoid my attachments was definitely very difficult because definitely like in our time right now with COVID going on and us being in class on Zoom calls and all of that, my phone and my laptop are still pretty big attachments to me and something that I definitely need throughout my life. So trying to avoid those didn't really go as well. And then following the Eightfold Path was just kind of difficult because it was just hard to always be in that right mindset and have the right view and give the right action for certain scenarios, especially when I work at a restaurant and I usually have people yelling at me for ketchup or salt or pepper. So for living like a Yangist, this was pretty hard for me to do throughout the day just because this day I didn't have off from work, so I was working, and it was very hard for me to try to ignore my unnatural desires and try to accept my natural desires. I guess if you want to like count alcohol as an unnatural desire, I just turned 21 a couple days ago, so I guess it was kind of hard for me to avoid drinking alcohol because now I'm like, oh, I'm legal now, so it's okay. I chose to live like Aristotle on the third day, and that was the most difficult day for me to live that way, just because I found it very difficult in seeking the mean in all things and all probabilities and problems that I faced, and also developing my virtues. I did find that a huge virtue that is super important to me is being kind to others no matter what. I show to reflect that in my day-to-day life at work when I'm, like I said before, getting yelled at and I'm just, putting a smile on my face, nodding my head. Yeah, of course, I'll get that for you, no problem. Would you like anything else? So like I said before, I definitely preferred the Buddhist life, and it definitely was the day where I felt the happiest. Meditation is definitely my jam. I love just, sitting down in some nice silence and just really contemplating my thoughts. I definitely contributed the most to society when I was living like Aristotle, just because I was really like focusing on my virtues and, like I said, being kind to everyone around me. And I think that was I think I was doing better for the people around me more than I was doing better for myself. And like I said before, I think living like a Buddhist really made me feel like I was living a good life and the best life. As far as missing resources for living these types of lives, I think in Buddhism, the only thing that I really was missing to really live like a Buddhist was time. Just like I said, I work a lot, so it's kind of hard to live like a Buddhist while you're running around and serving tables. And then it's pretty hard to really like focus in on problems and try to follow that eightfold path, try to have that right view and give that right action when you have sort of a chaos of a life like me. For living like a Yangist, I think a resource that would have been helpful for me to live that life would definitely be self-awareness, but in a way also money, just because my self-awareness to be able to identify what desires are natural and unnatural to me, and also money just so that I can pursue my natural desires as much as I want, and money would be a huge contributing factor. And then for living like Aristotle, I think a good resource would be power, just because trying to seek the mean in all things and developing virtues is mainly something that I would see as a rule ruler to have, like the qualities of a ruler and someone who is, or a leader, if you will, to develop virtues for their people that they should follow, to be respectful people to one another, and seeking the mean and just being able to, be that mediator between people when they're fighting and find that mean solution for them both to follow. The structures in society that made it the hardest to live a good life on each of these views, starting with Buddhism, I think it was definitely, like I said before, my work, just working all the time and didn't have that much of time to really be mindful, be at peace with my inner self. And for living like a Yangist, I think the structure would probably be like maybe churches, if I was to think in that sense, just because churches are more kind of like, oh, don't go give in to those natural desires, because they see it as sin, with certain natural desires, not all of them. And Yangists are more like, hey, like give into your natural desire and rebunk your unnatural desires. Now, I tried to think long and hard about a structure in society that would make it hard to live like Aristotle. And the only one that I could really come up with would probably be our police force, just because obviously there's a lot going on in America right now with police brutality and racism, and a lot of cops don't really understand that they have to seek the mean in problems. They can't just join one side or the other. They have to find one solution that will help both parties. And also, I just think that the police force should really focus on developing their own virtues, especially when it comes to dealing with people and just people talk in general. There's a lot better ways that they can go about doing things that I think should be implemented in their practice and education. So that was my whole experience. Thank you for watching. Bye.